Hello, I'm Dr. Mark Wilson. Welcome to Abnormal Psychology. I'll never forget my first job in the mental health field. I worked as an overnight counselor at a group home for people with chronic mental illness. I remember worrying about what it would be like to work with crazy people. I worried that one of the residents might come into the staff apartment while I was sleeping and kill me. Well, it didn't take me long to realize that I was operating under all kinds of stereotypes and misunderstandings about people with mental illness. Although we as a society have come a long way in removing some of the stigma associated with mental illness, we still tend to discriminate against people who are often the least able to stand up for their rights. We still make a false dichotomy between physical illness and mental illness. Although we recognize that some psychiatric conditions have an underlying biological cause, we oversimplify the reality with terms like chemical imbalance. Certainly, while some disorders, such as schizophrenia, are undeniably caused by brain abnormalities, and some forms of depression may be related to low levels of neurotransmitters, reducing these complex human conditions to merely imbalances of the humors, as the ancient Greeks believed, misses the complex interchange of psychological, social, and biological factors that interact to shape us into who we are. I like to use an analogy of a coin. You could, if you had the right saw, slice this quarter on its edge and separate the head from the tail in order to examine each one separately. The problem is that you don't have a quarter anymore. Just try putting it in a vending machine and see what happens. As we'll see in this course, much of the history of the attempt to explain mental illness has tended to focus on only one factor. For many years, psychiatric symptoms were thought to be the result of demonic possession. Treatments included exorcism and trephining, drilling a hole in the head of the patient to let the evil spirit out. As the old joke goes, the operation was a success, but the patient died. As I mentioned a moment ago, the ancient Greek physicians believed that physical and psychological problems were caused by an imbalance among four basic bodily fluids: blood, black bile, yellow bile, and phlegm. Our modern notion that depression is caused by a chemical imbalance is really the same sort of idea. A neurotransmitter, such as serotonin, is just a more complex bodily fluid. The problem is that this is an oversimplification. The fact that two things are related does not prove that one caused the other. In fact, in our society, when we see a correlation between a biological state and a psychological condition, we tend to assume that the biological caused the psychological, when in fact, it's also possible that the psychological condition caused the biological state, or that a third factor is responsible for both. For instance, perhaps growing up with an abusive alcoholic parent caused both the psychological state of depression and the low level of serotonin. Here's a quick demonstration to show you what I mean. Indulge me, play along. I promise this won't make you depressed. I just want you to relax and listen and watch. Look at this. Beautiful, crisp, yellow, citrusy lemon. Can you imagine what it smells like? It is tart and sweet. Nothing else smells like a lemon. Can you remember what it tastes like? Have you ever bitten into a lemon? Imagine the sweet, tart juice squirting into your mouth. Wow. Now, if you're like most people, your salivary glands just went into overdrive, and you've had to swallow at least once. If I'd used a piece of litmus test paper to test the pH balance of your saliva before and after this demonstration, we would have shown that the pH balance changed in response. Now consider this. You didn't bite the lemon. You just watched someone do it on your TV, and yet your biochemistry changed in response. If watching this little trick on your computer could have this effect, imagine what growing up in a dysfunctional family can do to your brain. On the other hand, there are plenty of examples where what we now know are biologically based disorders were once thought to be caused by something in the environment. For instance, for many years, it was thought that schizophrenia was caused by bad parenting. Of course, it was moms who got the blame. The term used was schizophrenogenic mother. Literally, mothers caused schizophrenia. I can assure you that while you might feel that your mother drives you crazy sometimes, she can't make you schizophrenic. All this is a kind of disclaimer. Call it truth in advertising. Throughout this course, you may get the impression that we have a full understanding of the depth and breadth of the causes and courses of mental illness. I assure you, we do not. Maybe someday we will be able to reduce the cause and even treatment of mental illness to a single factor, but more likely, any thorough understanding will require us to recognize that psychiatric conditions are caused by a complex interaction of multiple factors, including biological, psychological, and social influences, and are thus multi-causal. I encourage you to keep an open mind as we explore this fascinating material.